and we discovered a bunch of really great stuff and a lot of cool tricks. And
very, very first Walking Dead prototype, which actually was for a different zombie thing that ended up turning into The Walking Dead. The first conversation was actually with Valve, and it was about what if we did a narrative side story in the universe of Left 4 Dead.
Holy shit, yes, please take my money. Guys, you heard that right. Telltale Games, the creators that are the most known for the Walking Dead video games, almost created the Left 4 Dead Telltale games. This is something that is a huge deal. For those of you guys that don't know this and have not been around the channel, I am a big, massive fan of all things Walking Dead. A lot of zombie games are my favorite, but especially The Walking Dead. Now, I have not watched the TV shows in a while because I personally have grown to dislike the TV shows because I'm more of a fan of the comic book and the video game style of things when it comes to The Walking Dead. But I still love The Walking Dead in general. And The Walking Dead is something that's near and dear to me because of all the loving and awesome characters that they have in these IPs. I love The Walking Dead so much that Clementine is actually my favorite character in video game history. That's how much I love The Walking Dead. Now, most of you guys probably know me for Left 4 Dead because that's the one thing that I play a lot the most on the channel. But I have played and introduced you guys to the Walking Dead games before by doing a walkthrough of all of them for nostalgia purposes. Now, if you're wondering where this news came from and all of a sudden why it's being introduced to us now after all these years, and that's because, my friends, The Walking Dead is celebrating its 10-year anniversary of the Telltale video games. Now, even though Telltale has not got the rights to The Walking Dead anymore, they gave it back to Skybound while they were suffering from bankruptcy. Telltale Games, to my absolute surprise, is still around to this day. In fact, they're starting to actually do well for themselves again. Now, even though they have lost the rights to the Walking Dead games, they still have some of their IPs, now their main one being The Wolves Among Us. I'm looking forward to seeing, even though I don't play The Wolves Among Us, what they do with that series, and just see how Telltale's been doing after all this time. But it's just crazy to think that in a parallel universe, there was a possibility that we were going to get the Left 4 Dead Telltale games and not the Walking Dead Telltale games. That is just crazy to me. Now, this interview that you're seeing here is actually because they revealed it with the celebration of their 10-year anniversary, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that is in this interview, man, and this is new knowledge to me. I had zero idea that they were going to work on a Left 4 Dead game at one point, and that's really cool to me, because Left 4 Dead is one of my favorite video games of all time. In fact, The Walking Dead and Left 4 Dead are both really high up on that list. Now, I want to show you another part with this interview here, talking about how the game was originally going to go, and talking about basically like all the ideas that Telltale had originally when they were making concepts for this game.
And that was when Sean and Carl had started this prototype of the sort of the boiling pots or spinning plates, and
that was a text game. That was a text game.
But it was just a bunch of progress bars. If you didn't check on enough people, they would either boil over or one of their events would cause someone else's story to like overcharge and start messing up. We didn't end up making a Left 4 Dead game.
The game seems very similar to The Walking Dead, but with some slight differences. Most notably being is that other characters could impact each other. Now, in The Walking Dead, we know about how that there's stuff in the game where, like, for example, you can make a decision that you can end up screwing over a character to help out the other one, and even it can get as extreme as trying to save another person and letting another one die. But the way that they're wording this makes me think of actually another video game which I really do love, which is Detroit Become Human. Now, in this game, there is 3 controllable characters, being Connor, Kara, and Marcus. And I want to point out specifically 2 of them, which is going to be Connor and Marcus. Both Marcus and Connor's story impact the game drastically, because even though they originally start off as separate characters with separate stories, eventually, depending on your decisions, all these characters can collide and meet. The one scene I want to reference from the game in particular is going to be when Connor and Marcus meet at Jericho. Now, spoiler warning here, I am going to touch up on the Detroit Become Human story. If you guys have not played this game before and you want to play it for yourselves, then I recommend skipping a little bit ahead of the video. However, though, if you do want to end up hearing the plot, then here it goes. So in Detroit Become Human, there's these robot variants called deviants, which are robots that can think for themselves. Now, Marcus is one of these said deviants. However, though, depending on how you play throughout the story, you can choose to end up being peaceful or violent in robot protests, where you're basically trying to fight for your rights to end up basically being free. Now, Connor is a part of CyberLife Security, or in this case, the police force, which means that he is a robot police officer, and he's meant to end up taking down and arresting deviants. Connor is instructed with arresting Marcus, or if he has to, kill him. Now, you can play as both Marcus and Connor, so depending on what you personally want to do, you can make both of these characters fight and end up being enemies, or make them become friends, and this makes a completely different story depending on what you pick. Now, unfortunately, the Walking Dead games by Telltale are never usually this, like, free. You can never end up making the story be completely different like this. Normally in the Walking Dead games, they, for the most part, are pretty linear despite your choices. The most you can only end up doing in these games is pretty much getting somebody killed and having somebody else live, but you can't end up doing really extreme things, unfortunately, like you can do in Detroit Become Human. But that's not to say that Telltale can't make a game like Detroit Become Human and have a whole bunch of different decisions. I would love it if they did that. I would love if they did that. I can't imagine the idea of The Walking Dead with several different endings, let alone a Telltale game in general. Now, when it comes to Telltale, unfortunately, this was the main reason for their bankruptcy and their demise, because a lot of people just didn't like the same copy and paste decision games, because they felt kind of boring and repetitive and didn't really change that much over time. If The Walking Dead was anything like this decision that they had here with the Left 4 Dead idea, where you could end up having it be like Detroit Become Human, where there were several different endings and all the characters could affect each other, I think that that could have worked out. I think the main reason why they didn't go with this idea is just because they weren't as familiar with the Left 4 Dead brand as much as they were familiar with the Walking Dead brand, and if they're not confident in a story, or in this case a set of characters, then I understand. I really would have not wanted them to release this game if they were not confident, because it would have shown. And I think that if they were going to make this game, now would be the time. Just because Telltale can no longer make the Walking Dead games does not mean they can't make a Left 4 Dead game still. Now, yes, I understand that the Left 4 Dead series is really old at this point, so to release any new Left 4 Dead types of games would really only appeal to the Left 4 Dead fans that already are still playing the game. But that does not mean that Telltale could not bring in new fans, or even bring back old fans that have since moved on from Left 4 Dead because the game is just simply old and they mastered it already. Now, Telltale would have to be very careful here, because when it comes to Telltale, they're still surviving, sure, but they're still also recovering from bankruptcy. They're kind of like on life support right now. They're a smaller studio, and they cannot afford to have a bad game. But that doesn't mean that they can't end up doing this at some point in the future. If let's say that Telltale starts to do really well for themselves again, where they start making banger after banger game, please, at some point in the future, let this happen. I don't care how old Left 4 Dead is by this point. I don't care if, like, this game comes out, like, in 2030. I don't care if this game comes out and, like, let's say it's the exact same way that all the other Telltale games have been before, where it's, like, just a normal, like, click and you make a decision type of game. The story alone would be amazing to me, because I trust Telltale to make a really good story with really good characters. I can imagine some of the decisions that they would come up with, like, right now in my head. Like, for example, to shoot or not shoot the witch, to activate this horde summoning event or to not activate it, to end up doing something as extreme as, like, letting another character live over the other one, you know, in normal, like, classic fashion. But even Left 4 Dead has done things like this, for example, with the sacrifice ending. Canonically, it's Bill, yes, but at the same time, you can kill and sacrifice anybody in the sacrifice. There's so many different ideas in my head about how this can go. In fact, it makes me almost want to do a what if episode talking about, like, storyline. But, like, dude, this is just something that is just so cool to me. I really hope that one day, even if it's several years from now, please make this game. This would be such a really cool combo of both story writing, IP, everything. I can imagine this doing so well for new and old viewers alike. But yeah, guys, with all that being said, this is actually going to be the end of today's video, and I do truly hope you guys end up enjoying. In the comment section down below, by the way, let me know what story you would like to see if this were to happen. Would you want to see a continuation of the Left 4 Dead 2 crew? Would you want to see a continuation of the Left 4 Dead 1 crew? Or a whole brand new crew? Just let me know down below, I'm curious. And if you guys also have enjoyed today's video, please also drop a like, comment, and subscribe to show your guys' support. If you would like to financially support the channel, I tremendously appreciate if you guys could go check out my Patreon, as always linked down below in all my YouTube video descriptions, or you could use supporter creator code BlackNinja797 in all caps in the Fortnite Epic Games item shops, because Epic is my very first sponsor, and they were sponsoring today's video, so shout out to Epic Games. But yeah, guys, I hope you end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTubers they're ever going to see. Thank you for watching, guys. I love you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords. Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the Eternal God Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!